Hey, how you doing? You doing okay over there? I hope you're doing wonderful. It has been 3 months since I have last done a Real Talk video, and the last time that I did it, it was all about me looking forward to therapy for the first time. And while I'm not going to really touch too much on that, I will briefly cover it and the fact that it has been really productive and really nice, and I'm enjoying it for what it is. And a big thing for me was realizing that you don't have to necessarily go in and talk to your therapist about anything particular. Like, you don't have to have an idea of something that you want to quote unquote fix. You can just go in and talk about stuff, and then usually by the end of the session you're kind of like, oh, well, that was kind of nice and productive, and I didn't even really need to have a plan or anything. So that's great. That was like a little stigma that I got over after the first couple sessions that I did, realizing I don't need to come in with a prepared like laundry list of things. I'm like, hey man, we got to tackle all these issues. I'm sure you can do that if you'd like to. It's just not how I'm treating it. But one of the things that I talked about that I thought was super interesting, and also I'm curious about your guys' opinion on this, because I can see it going very wrong or very right. I mean, not wrong or right, but I can see people agreeing with me or disagreeing with me in a very strong manner. And the idea of it is this. I am now very aware, and I think a lot of people in similar positions are aware, that having multiple sources of income from different jobs is really beneficial when you have a unprecedented event like COVID, or I guess, literally anything, any major life event that may disrupt your job. And it got me thinking. Because I have a bunch of friends who lost their primary source of income in music, right? Touring doesn't exist right now. There's no way for you to make the lion's share of your income as a touring artist, because you can't tour. And a lot of my friends in the music space have turned to streaming as a way to not only kill time, but also hopefully make up a little bit of income along the way. And a lot of those musicians and artists, and even some of my friends who aren't musicians but were doing more traditional jobs, have come to me and been like, I kind of wish that I had done more of this sooner, because it would have helped me out in the long run. And it got me thinking. I was like, man, I remember when my dad worked for 15 years at the same place, and I just had this, maybe I'm off the mark here, but it seems to me like that kind of life and career path just doesn't exist anymore, at least not for the 99%, right? I'm sure if you're an incredible executive, you can carry a company for 15 years and be at the helm of it, right? But I do not believe that the vast majority of people coming out of college or high school or whatever, anybody below 30, I don't believe that we've ever lived in a world where there's an opportunity for you to be a career employee in one company for your whole life. And look, the world is big and there are exceptions to this all. But is that necessarily a bad thing? I think maybe not. And this is where I need to clarify. Working multiple jobs as a way to somehow scrape by and not starve to death is awful. Okay? Right? I am on the side of the camp that believes that a minimum wage job should pay you enough to live for yourself on a minimum wage job. Otherwise, what the fuck is the point? You're like, it does not make sense to me in order for this argument to move forward, to say like, look at you working 7 jobs just to feed yourself. Like, that's good. That's not good. However, I am saying in the broader scheme of things, those people that are traditionally able to support themselves, right, on whatever job they have, I'm thinking it's kind of a good idea to try your hand at getting involved with additional other stuff. And I'm looking at this as, when you talk to people in finance, one of the major meme things people say is diversify your bonds or diversify your investments, right? And the reason is because if you have all of your money, all of your eggs in one basket, and then all of a sudden the stock does poorly, you're fucking broke, bro. You ain't got no money no more. And the same applies to jobs. I didn't really realize that until COVID, but you can have your entire livelihood sucked out from underneath of you without doing anything wrong at all. At the peak of your career, it could just all disappear if you're involved with something that could be affected by COVID. Whether you're a restaurant owner or you're a non-essential worker, whatever it may be, it's not just people in the entertainment industry. And those that are having I'm not going to say the best time, those who are having easier times coping with this seem to be the ones that have been working in multiple different fields, or at least having their hands in different pots. Cheney, I've been talking to her a lot about this. She's kind of transitioning into streaming almost full time here. And there's a lot of hurdles and stuff to overcome, but at the very least, she's like, man, I'm so happy that I actually got into Twitch and started working on this in my free time, because now I feel so much more comfortable now that I'm being thrust into this. I feel more prepared. And there was an avenue there for me versus starting from scratch when things were tough. And that's very valuable. The downside to all of this is that, you're going to have this insecurity if you're working multiple different jobs that can't necessarily support you on your own. You're going to have that insecurity just the same as you would if you had one job and you were worried about that one getting taken away from you. There's no simple or perfect answer to all this. But what I'm trying to convey is I had this really tough time understanding whether or not it was a bad thing that I have my hands in so many different pots and I'm not focusing entirely on one project, or if it was a good thing. And so I looked at my dad and I talked to my parents about it, and the similar sentiment was like, the older you talk to the people, the older people are when you talk to them about this, it seems like the more they support, hey, you get into your job, you do that job good, you get rewarded for doing your job good, ta-da, like you work there your whole life, that's what it means to be a career man. And then the younger people coming out of college and high school, shit, man, I like talking to some of you guys in chat or in the comments. It's like, I don't know what I want to do, but I'm going to do this and this and this and this. It's got to be a generational thing. And I'm split between whether it's a healthy lifestyle or if it's a detrimental one. Because I too, in my head, I think I fetishize this idea of a 9-to-5 job. Like when a girl tells me she works a 9-to-5 and she's like deals with people in suits all day, I'm like, tell me more about how you have meetings. Like, tell me more about how you have to answer to the man. It just seems to me like that's a lot of pressure off of you because you're being told the things you need to do, and you're not having to come up with things you need to do to keep your business afloat on the fly necessarily, right? Like, you're working with a bunch of other people to do this. It seems a little bit less focused entirely on you. Some people may like that. Other people may like the fact that you have all the control and all the power, and so basically all of your failures are on you solely if you're independent and you're working for yourself. And maybe that's the answer. Maybe it really is just coming down to who is, what type of person you are. But what worried me is the fact that when I started talking about this concept to people who are coming out of college and high school, I realized that like you guys got taught the same shit I did 10 years ago, right? I got taught the same shit my parents did 40 years ago. The way that we handle schooling in the US is set up for like 1970, 1950, right? The idea of schooling from start to finish and doing all of this and honing your skills into a traditional job so you can graduate college with a degree specifically geared towards this one job, and then you do that job, and then that's the job you do for the rest of your life. I don't think that's appealing to a lot of people. I also don't think that that's necessarily how the world works anymore. And it might become a bigger problem down the line that we're having all of the, the meme where it's like, they didn't teach me how to cut checks. like nobody taught me about taxes in school. Well, yeah, what the fuck? I mean, they're kind of really, am I alone here in thinking like maybe we should be teaching a little bit more home ec, or maybe we should be putting a little more effort into kind of fine tuning the way schooling is propping you up for the world? Because I think the most valuable thing that schooling does for you, this is not, I think schooling sucks. Schooling is great, by the way, and I do actually miss learning. What schooling does is it gives you a great opportunity to get your feet wet in a bunch of different topics and see what may be interesting to you. And then from there, it just kind of fucks you, right? Like trade school is still not talked about. Coding programs still really not widely discussed as an opportunity or a path to a career. Yet those seem to be the most stable ones out there, right? Like you, and those aren't like mainline classes. Like I don't know how to change my oil, right? You can go to trade school. I'm not saying take me into a mechanics class in high school, But it would be nice to know that there are more avenues out there than just graduating high school, graduating college, and then going into a blue collar job, or I mean a white collar, fuck it, any job, when there are options out there that aren't necessarily straightforward lines. And I'm sure that this is different for people who are in rural areas, but at least if you're in a semi dense city, like, it's almost easier than ever now to just decide to get off the couch and make like a couple bucks for a couple hours, whether you're doing delivery service apps or Uber driving or anything, all this provided you have a car. And I understand that's a problem for some people, but like, the internet has been a blessing because it has given so many people avenues to make income or revenue in ways they wouldn't have before. I am the exact example I'm talking about. This job, air quotes, you can't see it, but the really big air quotes, this job that I get to do didn't exist 6 years ago, 7 years ago, really. I mean, we just didn't get paid on YouTube until like 2011. The internet has made it so you do have the ability to look at some of the stuff people are doing and be like, well, I can do my own version of that. Like, what about Etsy? Dude, fucking OnlyFans. I'm not even memeing. This is not a joke. There are more ways for people to earn money from home, or at least from working from home in some sense, than ever before. And I, again, don't know if that's necessarily more healthy or worse than working the same job for 20 years, but I think it's kind of cool. I think it's kind of cool, and I think that it's beneficial if you have the ability to get your hands wet in a bunch of different things, because ultimately you're going to learn stuff in both of your jobs, even if one of them's like a 2-hour-a-week little part-time thing you do just for some beer money. Like, I feel like you're going to learn some stuff that may help you in the long run. I'm super curious to hear your guys' response to this, by the way. Like, rarely do I do a real... This is the first real talk where I'm not like, man, this affects me directly. I just thought it was a cool topic. But hey, sorry for the sporadic videos. I'm moving currently, so it's, you know, it is what it is. But once all of this is done, I'm excited to get back on the horse. Still streaming every day, so I'll see you guys there. Thanks for watching. And if you guys enjoy the video, hit the like and the notification bell, or else nobody watches the video.